go ahead and roll.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and start rolling.
Roll.
Okay. Phil, we're ready.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph, for sitting down with us.
Thank you.
The issue regarding your driver has surfaced partly because of the shortage of school bus drivers. How can you justify having a bus driver show you around when there aren't enough bus drivers to get kids to and from school?
Well, thank you for taking this opportunity to talk with me about it, because this issue of the bus driver has 2.5 years. I mean, I'd start off by saying, one of the things we have strived to do is be out amongst our schools. Last year, I had an opportunity to visit over 396 community departments in town working. As it relates to the person who assists me when there's an occasion that I need to be driven, it's the rare exception that we do that. And now, because there is public interest, we make sure that we go ahead and just document when I do that. And I've made a conscious effort to use a driver less, because we want the drivers to be with kids doing the work that needs to be done for our school system. So
The fact is, though, this driver is sometimes driving you when he could be driving kids.
right, so the driver does at times, and we've talked about that. So now we're going.
The needs of the children not come first?
The needs of the children absolutely come first. So we're making sure that we don't use a driver when he could be driving kids.
Well, there's a text message from him that says, "Let dispatch know I'm driving this AM." So your needs came before his.
Well,
your needs came before the children.
So you're giving me a text message that I haven't seen, and I don't know the context of it. So I don't know if that's accurate, but I can verify.
It's your staff gave it to us.
Yeah, but I'm just saying I don't have context. That's something you just shared. I'd be happy to look at it after session. Our message, though, and our actions are we make sure our driver is working with kids.
If your administration cannot get kids to and from school in a timely fashion, why should you be pulling a school bus driver to drive you?
I just answered the question that we're not using a driver during the hours where he should be driving kids. We're going to make that a priority, that he's driving kids, and he is in fact doing that.
You have been using him during hours when he could be driving kids.
Yeah, well, previously, this is the driver that we have to support when there's a backfill. So he didn't have a direct route assigned to him. He jumped on substitutes when there were vacancies. But we're going to make it. But we're going to make it a priority to make sure that he's actually driving. It's important. Look, my job, one of the things that I'm responsible for doing is making sure that we move the school district. And I have been out in the community, out in our schools, working hard to make sure that happens. So we feel good about the fact that reading scores are up and suspensions are down and ACT scores are up, and that's because we're out and about. As we looked at our practices, we made sure with the bus shortage that we make sure that anyone who could be driving a bus is driving a bus, and we're doing that now. And our team has talked about.
Why did it take you 2 years?
Our team has talked about doing that. Well, I didn't use a driver every day. As I've communicated before, this is not that individual's primary responsibility, taking me where I needed to go. So it made sense to me when we needed someone to escort me, to have someone working with transportation, and that's who was assigned to me to do that. But now, as we look at it, we'll make sure that that doesn't happen. But our main priority is making sure we're out and about, we're getting schools what they need, and we've worked to do that.
I know your time is limited, so I want to just quickly give you a chance to respond to certain issues. Doctor's appointments. The driver drove you to doctor's appointments. That's personal business. Why should taxpayers pay for someone to drive you to the doctor?
That was a very rare occurrence. It wasn't anything that was consistent.
Breakfast appointments. Why do you need two Metro Schools employees? Why do you need two Metro Schools employees to drive you to breakfast?
So what happens is in the morning, I have morning meetings that require me to prepare, and when that happens, someone drove me to work.
So you needed two drivers, though, in those situations?
No, well, Someone has to bring the driver, if it was in the morning, to pick me up. Someone brought him to my home, and this is a salaried employee who doesn't just brings him where the car is. It's the fleet, and then the driver would take me on my daily assignment, whatever that may be.
So your driver had a driver. That's not a very good use of taxpayer resources.
It's efficient. When you say taxpayer resources, this isn't something where someone was making extra money to drive someone to the car. It's the person who supervises the fleet, and that's how they assigned that.
Well, one of those examples of a breakfast appointment was at Monell's, just right down the street, half a mile from the office.
Well, I'm not aware of that. I don't think he's ever had to drive me to M&L's. You know, there might be instances where I've had meetings, but not where he would necessarily drive me. So I'd have to check your facts on that one.
But we've got the documentation, but you don't have enough time to look at our documentation.
No, our team has all the time you need to answer any question. I mean, this is really important because this is an issue that has consistently come up, and I think it's been framed in the wrong way. In any large school district, in many large school districts, you have people who help the superintendent, because it's a very complex job, to get to and from where they needed to go when it's needed. Because I see my vehicle as a mobile office. I mean, I am out over the past 2.5 years. I probably had close to 700 to 800 community outings. And we have a team that actually collaborates to decide when a driver is needed. So it's not a one-person decision. We look at what I need to do. And quite honestly, most often when I'm out speaking, I'm out presenting, and I'm doing work in between. And in those instances, I've had some assistance. It's not his primary responsibility, so I don't want the public to think that we have someone who that's his only assignment is to take me to and from. That's inaccurate. That's probably the smallest part of the responsibilities, and it's not an everyday occurrence, has never been an everyday occurrence. Efficiency is important, and being accessible is important, and I am very conscious of using public dollars appropriately. You know, I'm very mindful of that. I've actually, you know, as I travel or, you know, have events, I seldom put in expenses. You've collected my expenses, so you see, I don't have many because I just make sure that I'm efficient with taxpayer dollars, because that's what's expected of someone in public office, and I hold that responsibility very seriously.
If you have a breakfast that's a half a mile from your office, why can't you drive to the office yourself?
Sure, I've answered that question. It all depends on what the nature of the meeting is, or the meeting after that is. Quite often, because I work 16, 17-hour days, I need to prepare in the car because I'm always moving and on the go. And in those instances, again, we have a team that comes together and looks and determines what I'm doing before, after, or what the nature of the meeting is, and they help determine whether, you know, I will need assistance or not.
Okay.
Every situation is different.
And you're making that point repeatedly, and I want to be able to ask you about these other issues. Morning appointments. You had August 2017. You were starting out in the morning at McGavock, which is your son's school. Why couldn't you drive to your son's school by yourself instead of having a driver?
Well, I didn't take my son to school that day.
The memo says he rode with you.
No, the memo would be inaccurate. My son has never been in the car with me and a driver. So,
okay. September 2017, there was a meeting just a mile away at WNPT. Instead of driving, it was at 8 o'clock. And instead of driving to the office and then going there, you had your driver come pick you up.
So the answer to all of those questions are, again, when it's decided that I need assistance, there's a reason. And that reason would be I must need to be preparing for either that meeting or the meeting immediately. And in those instances, a driver was deemed appropriate.
You had a 10 a.m. meeting off to instead of coming into the office, you had the driver pick you up at home at 9.
As I shared, because at Croft, for that Croft interview, for that Croft meeting, we had a major presentation where I gave a speech that I needed to prepare for. So it was appropriate to be preparing as we went towards there.
Lunches, there are some lunches that are within a half mile or a mile from here. Why can you not drive yourself to lunch?
As I've shared, depending on the nature of the meeting, I use car as a mobile office where we have things that we need to do and that I need to prepare for. It's the same answer over and over again to the same questions that you continue to ask me, but I can continue answering it in that same way.
Afternoon appointments. Just swipe it. I started that earlier. Afternoon appointments. If you have an afternoon appointment, I'm nearing the end of my list.
Rob, can you plug that back in? Into light, into the, okay. Thank you.
If you have an appointment at the end of the day, and there are lots of notations about drive Dr. Joseph here and then leave the car for him, why can't you just drive yourself?
Yeah, so there are lots of instances, and again, I would have to look at the specific situation, but the team determines whether I would need a driver or not and why and the nature of the situation.
There hasn't been a team in the past, has there?
There always has been a team since I've started. I never sit down and say I need a driver to do this or do that. We have what we call scheduling meetings, where we look at my complex schedule, and my schedule changes all the time. So what's difficult in some of the information that you have is there are instances where there may have been some direction, and then once I look at it, I'll say, well, I'm actually don't need help here, or I don't need help there. So we continuously cancel. It's a day-by-day situation where we look at it. So a lot of the information that you have there, unfortunately, I can't verify unless we sit down, person by person. There are times where I've not used the driver where we've scheduled it, and that's just the nature of how my schedule constantly evolves.
There was an appointment at MNEA, which is a half mile from here, where the instructions were to drive you there and leave the car for you. Mm-hmm. What does that say that you cannot even drive yourself a half mile without having someone to drive you there and leave the car for you?
I keep responding with the same answer, is that I obviously had something to prepare for as we were going there. And then there's traffic. It was an M&EA meeting, and I do recall that meeting. I believe there were about 150 to 200 people there working to find the location, and I may have been coming from a different location, so to be on time, that is what happened. Again, because my schedules are so complex, the nature of answering these questions, it's not as simple as we may want it to seem. But the good news is there's a team that looks at and determines when I need assistance or not. And the individual who does take me is not assigned to just do that work. And efficiency is important to me. And because of my ability to be out and my desire to be out and support my schools and to be amongst the teachers and amongst our students, I've had, again, close to 800 community meetings that I've been able to effectively get in and out of. Just coming here today, it took a little more time than usual, about 30 minutes actually, for me to retrieve the car, turn around, and get here because I had a meeting downtown. But I had time in my schedule, so it was easy for me to just do that and take that 30 minutes. But efficiency is important, and I think the taxpayer would want me to be efficient and effective. And as a result of being out and modeling, my staff is out modeling and out in the schools. And as a result, we're seeing the positive trajectory and our achievement because we're out touching, supporting, working with teachers. That's really important to me.
Weekend appointments. The driver worked Saturday, April the 7th. The only thing on your calendar was the Kappa League event in Franklin.
The driver did not work on that day. That's inaccurate. So that's an example of something that maybe the team put down and I looked at and said, no, that's the only thing we have, so I don't need to do it. But
so why do we have payroll record? Why do we have payroll records showing he was paid for that day?
Well, I'd ask you to clarify those payroll records because he definitely did not drive me to the Kappa meeting. I'm confident that I parked because I remember it was tough parking and I did that. You also had something down there about another weekend meeting. I think the only weekend, NOAA, which again did not occur. The only weekend meeting that I am aware of off the top of my head over 2.5 years was he did drive me to a TSU event one time, but that's it. I'm very conscious about weekends. I can drive myself. I mean, I don't.
What was the TSU event?
To be honest with you, I don't recall the nature of the meeting, but I do know it was an early morning meeting on a campus site, and I think it might have been like at 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning. I can remember speaking to students, but I don't remember the nature of it, to be honest with you.
And why could you not drive yourself, being on a weekend?
It was a very early morning meeting where I had to prepare. That was one where it was a pretty big, intensive speech, so I was looking and researching while we were driving to be prepared for the meeting. But that was the only one.
The last issue I wanted to ask you about is airport. That there are notations for times when a driver takes you to the airport and then goes back sometimes on the weekend to leave your car for you when your schedule shows you were on vacation.
Yeah, there's never been a time where I've been on actual vacation where I've just been dropped off and picked up. That I'm sure. If I've gone to go somewhere on the weekend, it was because there was some work involved there where they dropped the car off.
So the records are bogus?
What records?
Your record showing that you were on vacation.
Yeah, I would have to look at the specifics, and my team can happily sit down with you to clarify, because it's important that you clarify this, because I don't want the public to believe that we're doing something inappropriate when we're not, in fact. But I'd happily, you have a number of records that I think just need clarifying, and then we can follow through. And then you also have to remember two things. One, if I have gone, the person on the weekend that picks up, I mean, that's been a long-standing practice in the district, because we don't leave cars there to pile up the cost associated with keeping it parked. That's been happening long before I came into the district, and it makes sense. It's efficient. The person that comes in, picks the car up, is a salaried employee who oversees our fleet of cars. So there's no additional cost to the public for that practice, but we do save dollars, like the $3,000 some odd dollars that I save when I do go out of town on official district business, and I choose not to accept the per diem dollars. I mean, we've accumulated about $3,200 that I could have put in requests for that I choose not to do, because again, you won't find anybody more focused on not using taxpayer dollars inappropriately than me.
Would you agree that if you're going on vacation, you should pay for parking, or you should Uber?
Without question, and I do. I can show you. But first of all, I haven't gone on vacation quite often since I've been here. It's just been this summer I did have an opportunity to go, but it's been very rare that I've had a vacation since I've been here. That's just a fact.
So your institute practices, is that what I hear you saying?
For the past few months, we have just decided, because there's been an interest in when I use a vehicle and who's driving me, we just are documenting that now. So you'll see that anyone who calls can understand when I went and how I went, so we won't have this confusion that we may have now. It'll be much clearer and much more transparent, because again, I've never tried to hide the fact that when needed, I have someone who can assist me to take me where we need to go, so I can continue to do the business of the school system. And we'll continue to do that, but now we'll just make sure, so if we ever have to sit down again, you'll have the actual factual information, and there won't be any questions or issues about what, when, and how.
I have a question, and if you're not prepared to answer it, that's fine. We've been asking about performance matters. Is there anything you want us to know about performance matters?
No. I thank you for your time.
Okay. Is everybody good?
Yeah.
You good?